birth long ago in the innocence of youth, and the grace we once believed in we treated as the truth. Well, this pain just keeps pushing me from the things that I love, and the promise of tomorrow I've been dreaming of. Well, have you ever left hope far behind in pursuit of anything? Or felt after the day that things just weren't quite as they seemed? Well, today I grant permission, yes, this is your reprieve, to set fire to the system, rebuild your broken dreams. We're gonna celebrate the new year, holiday without any fear. We're gonna celebrate the new year, dance until we disappear. Well, if you're looking for some answers, yes, I'll probably disappoint. And if you think you found salvation, well, you might have missed the point. But I know a Redeemer who's so faithful and true, and if you have some questions, he'll answer them for you. We're gonna celebrate the new year, holiday without any fear. We're gonna celebrate the new year, dance until we disappear. Holiday's no holiday without you. Truth's not as distant as it seems. There's a certain amount of living without wisdom that comes when we erase our dreams. We're gonna celebrate the new year, holiday without any fear. We're gonna celebrate the new year, dance until we disappear. We're gonna celebrate the new year, holiday without any fear. We're gonna celebrate the new year, dance until we disappear.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm extremely honored to have this artist as my very first guest ever on the B-Flow Show podcast, hailing all the way from Kansas City, Missouri. He has toured across the USA, playing over 1,000 shows, spreading his amazing sing-along folk punk, playing house parties and festivals, and he's available for booking at DestroyNateAllen.com. Please welcome Mr. Nate Allen. How you doing, Nate?
I'm pretty good. That's quite the intro. I like that.
That's as good as the show's getting. That's it. Like, that's my part, and you're gonna have to carry me through the rest.
Okay, I'll try my best.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Thank you again so much for doing this. It's been about 20 years since we had coffee there at Jittery Joe's in Royston. We've had a lot to catch up on, man. So I know that you got married. Looks like you had a couple kids and stuff. How'd that go down?
Let's see. So probably not that long. I don't know if it's been quite 20 years, but probably not that long after we met. I started dating my wife, Tessa. We actually started dating in a Walmart parking lot in Athens, Georgia.
Well, that's where I'm at now. That's cool.
Yeah, your Walmart, the one with the tree line on the north side, I think is the one where we started dating at.
Wow.
We'd been friends in San Francisco, and she flew out to join me on tour, and I told her I liked her, and that story kind of kicked off there. But yeah, Athens was our spot.
That's great. Yeah, I know it was 2007 when we met. I was looking back through your archives. I was like, man, has it really been that long? I know I was at a reaction, the student ministry I was at there. And it's it was just crazy. But congratulations, man, on your marriage. And
Yeah,
you have 2 kids now.
I have a 3-year-old, and I had one that was just born a little over 3 weeks ago. So this is the
Wow.
first interview I've done as a father of 2.
Wow. Was she born around Christmas?
She was born December 11th, and on her due date, it was totally wild.
Awesome. Well, that's a great Christmas present.
Yeah,
So you're enjoying the family life.
yeah, it's very domestic right now.
I met you right around the time you were doing the Waco Sleeper album. Amazing album. It was very honest, man. If I had any word for it, it would be honest. And you mentioned on your website that the album it helped you kind of overcome some fears. Could you elaborate on that? Kind of talk about that album.
Yeah, so that was the first like official full length I think I ever did, um, which is actually real funny because I had this weird thing that if you put out 9 songs, it was an EP, and 10 songs, it was an album. So I did a bunch of little EPs that didn't count as albums until I wrote 10 songs and put them together. So that was my first official one. 2006 is when it came out, and if I roll the tape back to 2004 and 5, I was dealing with an immense amount of depression. I think was kind of the trigger.
Hmm.
I was living in San Francisco, and I was crying. I would say crying every 15 minutes if I wasn't like with someone. So it was just like, I mean, I was just breaking down, and I had a very like thin skin probably. It was just like intense loneliness, and turns out that was linked to a bunch of fear, and it was kind of my first round of kind of dealing with traumas of my past. And so from 2004 and 5, I quit music for what ended up being a year, and focused on what was broken inside of me. And out of that recovery process came the album Waco Sleeper. So there's a lot of like kind of fighting with the fear and where I was and where I was moving toward internally that is reflected on that record. And so it really was like I look at it as it was a real victory to get that out, and also just to feel like I had healed enough and kind of been put back together in some ways that I wasn't nearly as much of a mess at the point when we met, whereas I had been a couple of years before that.
As far as the album, I mean, just speaking personally, I mean, I think that may be what I resonated with. I didn't put 2 and 2 together there until like I read that on your blog. I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know
Yeah.
that there was so much kind of yourself put into it originally. So I do appreciate your honesty on that album. Like
Oh, thank
I
you.
go back to it. Like I literally every now and then it'll pop in my head and I'll go back to it and listen to it all over again. So
Oh, very cool.
for the people listening, to the podcast, definitely check that out. Like it is, if you're battling fear, if you're just a fan of good, awesome music, like just check that out because it can help, man. I mean, it's like a healing album. Like it's,
Thank you.
yeah. I mean, I've always enjoyed it, man. So appreciate you sharing that for real. And let's talk about your genre of music that you specialize in. I know you kind of went from that very deep, honest to kind of we're going to play these shows that are sing along. I would even say maybe happy.
Yeah.
Like how did that transformation come along, and kind of talk about the genre you specialize in.
Well, my genre jumps all over the map a bit. Destroy Nate Allen spent a lot of time in the folk punk scene, which is essentially aggressive acoustic music. It's like we'd rock out, we eventually tried to rock out harder than anybody could with an acoustic guitar, which meant I broke all sorts of strings and have all sorts of weird performance experiences that are really fun. But so when you met me, I was generally speaking quiet. I was the guy that would play heartfelt songs on an acoustic guitar. You could call it folk music. It kind of found a home in the like folk punk scene, but at its heart, it was songs written on an acoustic guitar for communicating feeling. When Tessa and I became a couple, she wanted to tour, and I said, "Well, why don't you join the band?" And so we just spent the next several years hashing out what it meant to be collaborative musicians. And when we collaborate, we gravitate much more to the rock and roll, silly, fun side of things. When I'm alone, I write sad, quiet, vulnerable songs. When we're together, we tend to write silly songs about food and our shared life experiences. So Destroy Nate Allen started quiet, and it got louder and louder and sillier, over 1,000 shows and multiple trips around the U.S. Music's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. You don't want to do something that was less exciting than you were doing before. So each concert, it kind of ramps it up just a little bit. And so that band just got louder and louder and louder. And the sing-along piece, it's just really fun to get an audience to engage with you. And so we just kind of became a band that, for lack of a better word, fell at the mercy of our audience. If they loved us, then it was a great show. And if they didn't love us, then it was just a confusing show. But we kind of threw it all into a collaborative experience. And that's how we got this silly band thing going on, which is really fun. I reflect on it because I've got two bands now with kind of the two sides of me. And then categorically speaking, when I'm playing music with Tessa, it's so much more fun than when I'm playing music by myself. I love both, but I mean, if I'm going to use the word descriptor of fun, it's when I'm with her, and when I'm by myself, it's going to be heartfelt, good work that I'm proud of. But I wouldn't use the descriptor of fun.
Gotcha. It sounds like you may you're using music more to get feelings out, expressive, and kind of fun, with the collaborative effort.
I mean, it's creativity and it's expression. So I think music at its base level is a harnessing of human emotion. So we are processing. I literally will sit in my kitchen when I'm cooking breakfast, and I'll make up some stupid song. And that's kind of our friends joke about us writing songs about our everyday life, folding the laundry and cleaning the kitchen, and I mean just basic stuff. There's kind of a soundtrack that goes, and so I think Destroy Nate Allen is with Tessa, or our music together is a kind of a glimpse into what our life is like. It's pretty open and vulnerable that way. When I am writing quieter songs like the ones you first encountered and the ones I play as Good Saint Nathanael now, it's very much a therapeutic process. When I'm having a hard day, I write songs. I mean, that's just kind of how I process. That's not to say it replaces therapy or other productive actions, but part of my process is definitely writing songs. And if I am just melancholy and I can't figure out why, picking up my guitar is probably the quickest way I can figure out what I'm actually feeling.
As far as I know you mentioned that you've toured, extensively across the U.S. What's the favorite show you've ever played?
Oh man,
that's a lot of shows to go through.
I mean, you can just pick a state, and I can tell you what the most memorable part of being in that state was. That's kind of the way we go.
Have you been to all states? Or no?
48. I set foot in 48 states. I've not been to Hawaii, and I think it's Vermont or New Hampshire, whichever one is more west.
So you've been to Alaska?
Yeah.
You have? Okay, favorite show in Alaska.
Oh, let's see. Oh man, I'm gonna tell you that it's actually like I think it's my least favorite show in Alaska, but it's the one that I remember. Uh,
We'll go
Alaska
least,
was
and then
actually
we'll
super
go
fun. It was a
favorite.
decade ago, and I'm itching to get back there. But I got there and I was super tired, and I played a house show in Anchorage that had like, I mean, it was just packed. I mean, I'm not sure how many people were there, but it was a cabin, so full wood walls, people hanging from the rafters, just like going crazy. I was exhausted. I lost my voice. The show was categorically actually not very fun to play because people were so drunk and loud,
Oh
uh,
man.
and I couldn't yell over them. But the weird part of that is that, I mean, this is a one room cabin, so the bathroom was actually in the room where everyone was playing, and they just had a tarp around like where people had to sit down, and you could always see their feet. I'm like, this is got to be the most like, I mean, maybe one of the most rustic things I've ever done. Like, and I've played, hundreds of shows off the grid, kind of like maybe we're gonna make sure the cops don't find out about this show. And this was like the wildest as far as like a few of the different things going on. That was my first night in Alaska, and I was exhausted.
You were like the only artist in the state. Like everybody came to see you at one house.
I mean, Alaska is just a wild place. Like, I mean, we've actually toured with people from Alaska quite a few times, and I mean, I think they're categorically in a really interesting group of people, but they also really know how to like come out and have a good time. And I think that was an example of like the right word getting spread, and so everybody came out for it.
So Alaska, kind of not so much a favorite. You're based out of Kansas City. I might be wrong about that, but is that true?
I live here now. Yeah,
So you are in like Kansas City area. As
yeah.
far as favorite, what about home turf? Like, what's your favorite show you've played in like KC area?
Let's see. The one that comes to mind first is we did a show with Five Iron Frenzy at this club called the Granada. It's about 1,000 capacity room. And long story short, we'd had a show with them in the past that was hard, and then this one they were coming through and playing on Valentine's Day in Kansas City. And I put in for it, and I was like, I'd like to play it, but I'm not going to it if I'm not playing because it's Valentine's Day and I don't want to be sad. Uh, I'm my heart gets weird if I'm not playing shows sometimes that I want to play. Um, and then like a couple days before we got the call, hey, you guys want to play? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so we went down, and it was just a perfect like night. Like the audience was really into it. We sounded good. It was a really like redemptive night. I mean, I still think it's probably the biggest show I've ever played in Kansas City. And it really like, even I had food on, I think it was Christmas with some people that had seen us at that show. So it really has become a friendship circle from that night.
So, as far as your songwriting process, you kind of hit on it a little bit. You're saying you kind of do things from everyday life, that kind of thing. Looks like you get some ideas throughout the day. Is that kind of your songwriting process as far as when you're trying to do an album? Do you kind of just sit around, mess with sounds? Exactly how does that work for you?
I don't sit around and mess with sounds nearly enough. Um, I There's people that are really good at texture and tone, and that's not me. That's not my strength. So what I do is I call myself a song catcher. So like I just go through life and songs kind of pop into my head,
Wow.
and then I sing them, and I'm like, oh, cool, I like that melody. Let's make sure we record that. So I grab my phone and I record the melody, and if I have time, sometimes I'll write the whole song. Sometimes I only have like 30 seconds, and so I just record the chorus or whatever I have, and then I go back to it with the intention of finishing or correcting whatever needed to be corrected about the structure of the song. And that can be really technical. I think I can spend, 30 minutes or 8 hours or weeks on a song. It really depends on the piece.
Have you ever had a song where you kind of wrote over a period of years?
Yeah. I mean, I think there was stuff on the new record that definitely took years to write.
But you just kind of initially got the idea, just boom, like one day.
Yeah, I get the idea, and then I'll chase it. It's kind of like pulling the thread to see where it's gonna go, and
Wow.
eventually it'll lead somewhere. Sometimes that means the whole song literally will like change all the lyrics, change all the melody. The whole thing will completely look different. I mean, for me, it's really a kind of a crafting of a song. So I'm trying to take it at the basic level and make a song like be able to just sound and communicate clearly with the guitar and a vocal, and then anything else we add to that is bonus. So I mean, I'm kind of from the Woody Guthrie school of like, your song is broken down to basics and then you can build it up from there.
Gotcha. Do you have a all-time favorite song? Like, do you have a song that you wrote, and you were just like, man, I really love this song, and you just enjoy playing it every time?
I don't think I have an all-time favorite. I've definitely played my song White Flag more than any other song. That's been probably played, I mean, nearly 1,000 times.
Wow.
That's kind of like when it came out, when it was written. I remember exactly where I was, because I don't have like super clear memories of writing like songs. Like I have like, I remember when I wrote that one lyric or something, or where I was like geographically. But when I wrote White Flag, there was 2 specific moments where lines came from that, and I was in a bar in San Francisco. I was playing a show, and I was supposed to be like the opening band. And my 2 friends that were playing with me came up and they said, "Hey Nate, can you play last?" And I'd never played last in a bar before, and I was afraid everybody would leave. And I walked in the bathroom, and I don't know if the words were written on the wall or if I just came up with them. But the words, "If it's true that this would happen before even time began, then I guess I just surrender because I'm doing all that I can." That kind of tumbled out, and so like there's that like. Was in Edinburgh Castle in the bathroom in San Francisco, and had that line. And then flash forward several months, I'm on tour, driving through Central Oregon to play a show at some friend's house, and I have historically had some back problems, and my back had gone out. And this is like, a few days into my first ever U.S. tour, and I started singing, "I'm going to raise the white flag, I'm going to raise the white flag too," and it was like, it kind of just became like, oh, that's a song. Like, there's something there. And that night I got to my friend's house. I didn't play it, but it's actually this band, Larry and His Flask. If you don't know them, look them up. They're fantastic. I walked into their house and I played wearing a back brace, singing through a PA to like 5 people. That's how low I was at that point. And that's the day I wrote the song White Flag. And, I showed it to my friend Sam that night, and I was like, "Hey, I got this new song." And I never really show people like this new song I'm writing. Just like not, but I did. And within a few weeks, it became the set closer. I mean, and I've been using that song to close, for all the years that have passed. It's like the last one. So it was kind of wild. And I remember exactly where that came from.
Wow. So the lyric was written on a bathroom wall, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know honestly if that I don't know if that was written on the wall or if I made it up in there.
Gotcha.
Both would be pretty common in my process. I'm very, very visually stimulated by words, so it's pretty common for me to write a song in front of a bookshelf or a wall with a bunch of posters on it, and then cherry pick words and put them all together into ideas and songs.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't seen anything ever like that was profound on a bathroom wall. So.
Oh man, here's the wildest bathroom in Kansas City. So here, it's I'm not sure if you've heard of the International House of Prayer.
Yeah.
I mean, people. I'd say it's the number 1 export of people of the Christian faith into Kansas City. Like, they kind of come from all over for this space, but they don't always land there and love it. Like, a lot of them land there and hate it, and there's kind of this weird tension point where people they move here and they're 18 and they're super excited, and then when they turn 19 they realize that was actually a bad fit for them and they go somewhere else in Kansas City. So that being said, there's a bathroom in South Kansas City at this coffee shop that I went in, and all the graffiti is of a religious nature.
Wow.
And it's Satan is God, Jesus is horrible, and then the response is, no, Jesus is king. I hate Satan. And like it literally like the whole bathroom is theological arguments back and forth written on the walls illegally,
Wow.
all generally speaking based around someone's experience with that community and where they're at when they're writing on the wall.
Whatever happened to, like, for a good time call?
Yeah. Oh, a ridiculous. Yeah. Uh, in my own wall, like 4 feet away from where I'm at, I actually wrote for a good time call Tessa Tax on our bathroom, and then I have like our business number because I thought it was really funny. And so if anyone's using our literal bathroom, they have like, for a good time, call us, like in the next room.
That's great. All right, so you have a new album. Obviously, it's available now for digital download. That's destroynateallen.com under the merch tab. The name of the album is Hide No Truth. And I noticed this is not a Destroy Nate Allen album. Rather, now you're calling yourself Good Saint Nathanael. What's the significance behind the name difference here?
Well, the name came from a lyric I wrote about a song. I kind of had the character Good Saint Nathanael appeared in the song, and somebody asked, and I kind of explored it and decided that I'd try to play under that moniker. So that's where the name came from. And it really, I look at it as like an aspirational title. Like I think on all of our best days or even best moments, there's saintly characteristics in all of us. So like maybe you help an old lady cross the street, or you're really nice to somebody when you'd really rather be a jerk. Like there's little moments, decision. And so for me saying I'm Good Saint Nathanael, it's like I want to have more of those moments and less of the other side. And so I kind of look at it as a character that I'm striving to be. And, if I can be more saintly, then that seems like a win to me.
I got you. I just had the thought, as far as Destroy Nate Allen, I was wondering if you felt like you'd been destroyed enough, or, I didn't know exactly, why you were going to change your name there. Are you still going to do, are you still Destroy Nate Allen? I'm sorry. I guess that's the better question.
I don't know. We actually were talking about it this week. I don't know what the future of Destroy Nate Allen is.
Yeah. The story behind it, because you're just saying, you're trying to die to yourself.
Yeah, well, there's that aspect. There's also, like, I'm a punk rocker, so I wanted a good, like, nihilistic punk rock name.
Nice.
That's fun to put on t-shirts. I mean, that's kind of more the, like, silly side of the name. And then there's also the, like, heavy. You can kind of apply it any way you want. But have I destroyed myself enough, man? I've gotten so many injuries from rock and roll. I'm the acoustic guy that ends up like, a kind of insider piece of knowledge is for years I wore knee pads at shows.
Oh wow!
And so like, there's pictures of me power sliding all over clubs around the U.S. It's because I hadn't had knee pads under my pants and nobody knew it. So like, I'm the guy that plays acoustic music that is actually secretly wearing knee pads and ankle braces, and he's
in my head. I see Marty McFly at the end of Back to the
Future. Yeah,
the sliding.
I did every rock and roll thing you can as an acoustic musician. Like, and then we got into playing theater games and silliness. So, I really like that. I don't know if we will be what we're gonna do with Destroy Nate Allen. We have a new band called the Noisy Do-Gooders. Oh, nice. Which essentially carries on that tradition. And then also Good Saint Nathanael they kind of go both, like, they kind of take up both the space, like the creative aspects of Destroy Nate Allen go those other ways. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what we'll do. We still have, a basement full of records, and so we have plenty of motivation to try to do something with that, but I'm not sure how it will all play out over time.
Are you planning a tour for the new album? Or are you going to be touring?
I've toured a bit. I actually really want to get down south, like into the southeast is kind of the geographic area that I'd like to spend the most time in.
Sure.
With the new record, so hopefully I can get down there. I've already done a few tours with the new record, but I'd like to do more. in the coming year.
Okay, great. Well, Nate, I got one more question for you, man, and this is one that it's kind of with the B-Flow Show podcast. I'm trying to basically encourage creativity and new artists and things like that. I was just gonna ask you, what are some encouraging words for artists that are getting started, and what would you say to, I guess, basically yourself a few years ago, as far as getting started in the music scene?
Oh, it's a whole lot of work. uh, I think that categorically, I think I would just let's see. I'm not really sure what I'd say to myself. I know that I've taken a path that I think a lot of people haven't. As far as I've just been kind of an independent guy, kind of like working it out on my own. I'd say ask for help. And I think a good example of this is my first record, Waco Sleeper. Like, I like how that record sounds, and I'm proud of it. But now I know that I could actually have asked somebody, to mix the record. And I mixed it on my own, and I'm happy with how it sounds. And so I'm not trying to like talk bad about the record, but I'm using it as an example of like there were elements of that I just didn't know that you could ask for. So like there's been pieces of my journey that I would have benefited from knowing some different questions to ask. So I'd say ask people that know a little more than you, like for advice, and don't be afraid or don't feel like you're unqualified to ask for some perspective from somebody who has walked a few more miles than you, and then create a lot. I think that I heard a comment that was like, I think Justin McRoberts, I'm a big fan of his, was saying that when someone asks you, how are you such a great artist? Well, the answer is obviously that I was a bad artist for a really long time and I never quit.
Nice.
And so I think that's really true. Like, I mean, I've written at this point thousands of songs and played thousands of shows, and I think that my best work is ahead of me, and my grasp on my art is the best it's ever been, and that's come from a lot of repetition. And so I think it's really rare that your best art is the first art you do. People's best albums or first albums are oftentimes the best, but mostly I think because they've been working on that material and they've probably written a lot to get there. So that's kind of my advice to my younger self, I guess.
All right, great advice. Well, Nate, I appreciate it. I'm gonna not take up any more of your time. We've talked for about 30 minutes here, so I do appreciate you coming on again. Good luck to you, man. Like with all your ventures. The album is Hide No Truth, and that is available now. Make sure everybody you check it out, and A Waco Sleeper for sure. His debut album. And Nate, again, thank you so much, man. And of course, I will be speaking to you later. And if you come down, man, for sure, I'd love to get you a cup of coffee or something.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd like to. I mean, the outside of wanting to go home sometimes to see my Northwest family, the Southeast is the spot that I've kind of got my heart set on trying to spend time with. Or a place I want to go to, so I hopefully can come down.
Good. Yeah, I'll be in Athens as far as I know for a while. So if you're this way, we'll get together. And
sounds good.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, and don't be a stranger, man. I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Safer on the sidewalk in the shadows out of sight. When a cutting glance of disapproval will give you frostbite. Yes, it's simple able to distract yourself while knowing people die. I just focus on the task at hand, straighten up my tie. But I think we can do better, a whole lot better, a whole lot better than this. Yes, I think we can do better, a whole world better than this. A cheap shot to the injured, isolated in bad health. It's easy if you believe they did it to themselves. Yes, I most often hurt the people I love, and it's easy to forget that the hurting need a hug. But I think we can do better, a whole lot better, a whole lot better than this. Yes, I think we can do better, a whole world better than this. But left with my devices in the hand I was dealt, I would sit on the couch lamenting how I felt. I would seek first my security, ignoring cause and effect. I'd stay inside my head, never turn my neck. But it's hard to find your footing, keeping one foot in the grave. And it's hard to get momentum when you always hesitate. Yes, we can travel all we want, but we can't escape. We're all in this together with a cross-stitched fate. But I think we can do better, a whole lot better, a whole lot better than this. Yes, I think we can do better, a whole world better than this. And I think we can do better, a whole lot better. To those friends and family out in the weather, to those people we'd rather punch than kiss, I think we can do better, a whole world better than this. Yes, I think we can do better, a whole lot better, a whole lot better than this. I think